Hello, everyone. This is Kathy Iconis with QBO Chat, and we are about to get started on this awesome webinar app demo on the intro to Onpay. If you guys have not heard of Onpay before, it is a payroll solution, and the one that I use that I prefer over the competitors out there. If you guys got my email this morning, I do have a comparison spreadsheet between OnPay and Gusto. Um, Took me a really long time to put that sucker together, going through like all the pros and cons, who's the winner in different areas and everything like that. But yeah, I totally prefer OnPay. They have been around forever, um, and it's just a great solution for you. And today we're gonna have Kara and Rajaps. Yeah, Kara, I should
Close.
know
It
your
was a good
last
attempt.
name by now. I yeah.
I respond to Carrot. Rajapaksa works too, but it's kind of a mouthful to say.
Rajapaksa. Raj
Close, yeah.
yeah, yeah, close.
Closer.
I did the S and K wrong. Anyway, yeah, so we have Kara here. She is like my go-to person on anything on OnPay. Every one of these webinars we've done, she is here with us, knows everything in and out about OnPay, and she's awesome. So, yeah, without further ado, let's Kara, you want to kick it off?
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely, Kathy. Thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon, or depending on where you are dialing in from, good morning, QBO chatters. I myself am dialing in from the Atlanta, Georgia area today, where it is sunny and beautiful, but also hot. So I do appreciate you taking time out of your day to check out OnPay. I would say really this presentation, it's for those of you who are maybe looking for a better solution for meeting payroll needs of your company or your clients. Maybe you want to gain more hours in your day not spent on payroll, or you don't offer payroll as a service currently and you're wondering, can it be a value add to my business? And I do want to introduce myself a little bit more in full. My name is, as Kathy said, Kara Rajapaksa, and I help bookkeepers have the best experience possible with us so they have more time in their day to focus on what they do best. And I'm a product consultant here at Onpay. I've held roles with Onpay's partner team for bookkeepers and also the onboarding team. And I have to say, working in onboarding, it gave me a really unique perspective. I had the opportunity to speak with small businesses directly and really see what they need in terms of payroll. Just to get a sense of what I was doing on that team, I was the person responsible for prior wage entry, data migration, just that overall setup of new accounts. So you learn a lot that way. Definitely your gal if you have questions about the onboarding process or really anything else in OnPay 2. I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to ask questions. So just some items to note before we get started. If you'd like after this call, if you realize, ooh, I do have some questions I'd like to ask, feel free to schedule a one-on-one time after this session. Check us out at onpay.com/QBO chat. Easy to remember. And then also too, there is a chat section of Zoom. I'm not sure, Kathy, if you prefer Q&A or chat. I like the chat area because I post links there from time to time, but it's whatever your preference is. Maybe
Yeah,
Q&A.
I disabled the chat. So we have Q&A. If you have any
I
Q&A, you
actually
just
looked
post
up to
that.
the Zoom panel. I thought, oh, I don't see the chat. So, okay, Q&A is the way to go, folks.
It's totally cool. And yeah, you guys can put in little chats or anything if you need to. And if there are any links, we can include those and any emails afterwards, wrap up emails. And I just want to let everyone know this is being recorded and it will be up on the website later. So you can come back and watch it at any time.
Perfect. Yeah, no pressure there if you have to scoot out. But let's start by going over some payroll basics, always a good frame of reference. I've worked in payroll for a number of years, used to do that onboarding setup for new accounts. So I know that there's a lot of little things to keep in mind when it comes to processing payroll. And a lot of payroll, it consists of administrative tasks. You need to make sure that hours, if applicable, are being tracked and entered into a system if your client is using one. I've seen it all. I've seen folks that are tracking it on lined notebook paper, believe it or not. But I know bookkeepers at a bare minimum, if you're helping, usually at least there's an Excel sheet or something there. And you also need to make sure that taxes, garnishments, deductions, those are calculated correctly. The employees, they also need to be sent their pay, whether that's by direct deposit, check, or pay card, and more. There's a few other methods too. And then the resulting tax payments need to be made timely as well. Then on top of that, filings, they need to be made timely too. The most common frequencies we see are on a quarterly and annual basis. This is at both the federal and state level. And yet there is still more that can complicate payroll, which probably surprises no one on this call. There are agencies out there that require more frequent tax deposits and filings. Your client could live in a jurisdiction that has local or city taxes. They could even offer benefits that need to be processed in a very particular way. All of this together, it adds extra tasks and things to keep in mind when processing. So given that knowledge, given all the little admin tasks that are involved with payroll, things to be aware of, what we did is 2019 and 2020, we conducted a mass survey of over 1,000 small business owners just to capture what is your payroll experience. All right, so Kara, why is this important? Because of what we found. So for many small businesses out there, payroll is a very labor intensive process. Business owners are spending an average of 18 hours a month just on payroll alone. And it's something that's also quite costly. This is already very much tied in with their cash flow. We found as well that a whopping 28% of those small business owners have been audited or received a notice from the IRS, which can carry with it penalty, interest, just other incurred cost. And some have said, payroll, it's not a walk in the park for me. It's a little bit intimidating. We found that a quarter of business owners didn't really feel confident that they were submitting taxes correctly. And for that last point, I can especially see that the year that we just had, 2020, even extending into 2021, we saw the introduction of COVID-19 related payroll relief programs, tax credits. You may have been helping your clients with some of those too. You may have applied for some of those yourself. There's just so much more new information out there for those small businesses. So there's really an opportunity there to help your clients get payroll right. And if you're able to help your client with payroll really in any capacity, even just referring them out, you are giving them the gift of time. If they do payroll incorrectly, they miss a payment, miss a filing, that tends to have a trickle down effect of even more work. So you are also saving them money and stress in the long run too. Now that's where you can help, where we can help Onpay, who we are. We are a cloud-based payroll service provider. We serve bookkeepers and their clients in every single state and the District of Columbia all across the country. Now, how we do that, how we achieve that is we handle the payroll processing, tax payments, tax filings with accuracy guaranteed. Super important for payroll. You want that. You want accurate. And if your client happens to be in an industry or space that has maybe more specific needs surrounding payroll, and when I say that, what comes to mind are nonprofits, churches, and other religious organizations, restaurants, farms, ranches, ag-based businesses, just know that we've got tools in app that are designed to help those certain sectors out, while also offering the most flexible integration with QuickBooks Online. Your clients also get unlimited pay runs. We are not charging per payroll. New hire reporting, you've got to report any new employees to the state new hire agency. We take care of that. Plus, we also can help out with benefits in HR. Now, some benefits of joining Onpay, we have this free partners program. We started it in 2019. As an Onpay partner, you would get a free customizable dashboard, and that's something that you're going to see today. So I by no means want this presentation to be entirely in a slide deck. In a few minutes, we're going to hop away from this, go into Onpay, and we're going to start right from that dashboard. And it's a spot you can track and manage all of your clients in one area. And as you do add clients, you have the option. You can take a revenue share. You can pass along the discount. The idea is the more clients that are onboarded, the higher that discount would be. Plus, you get free payroll for your firm. There's no client minimum for that either. So if you want to try Onpay out just for your business in particular, enroll in our partners program, get that account completely free of charge. There's no obligation to even add clients later. So I think that's kind of a nice introduction to try out our services, see what that experience would be like. And you also get free onboarding and migration for your firm, for each of the companies that you're managing. And we've got a dedicated partner support team as well. Now, in terms of how to approach payroll, there are several different ways that you're able to do that with Onpay. We have multiple levels of user access. This could be something that you or your clients are doing. I will say right from the get-go, there's no right or wrong way to approach this. With any added service that you offer clients, some of our partners, they take kind of an all or nothing standardized approach for all of the companies or all of the clients that they're onboarding with that service offering. There are others that they take it on a client by client basis, and that's okay too. Now, some of the two most common ways to process payroll you're seeing up here on the screen. First one, maybe you monitor your client's payroll, you have access to their books, but you're staying out of that day-to-day processing. And depending on how you structure things with your clients, you might be reviewing each pay run, quarterly tax filings, or you just come on in, you're mapping the payroll data to the GL and QBO. You have access to their payroll account to help troubleshoot when necessary, but you're pretty hands off. Now, another option, believe it or not, this is the one I see a little bit more commonly. You run and completely own the processing for your clients. So if you do payroll, you're going to know your client and their business intimately. You'll have much more frequent contact with them. You're going to know when they hire and fire employees, how one of the biggest drivers of cash flow is looking, how they operate, where they're doing business. So you're getting that level of insight. And because this has an increased level of responsibility, because you're the one approving payroll, it also comes with a higher opportunity really for revenue because of that increased responsibility, highest revenue opportunity for your practice. And then in terms of, all right, well, this sounds good, but who's being charged for Onpay? You don't want to undervalue your services there, or your pricing. We have several different ways that you can approach this. It could be on a client by client basis. You can extend the discount that you're entitled to as a partner to your client instead. And this is a rate, it's exclusively available through their relationship with you. So if they leave your services, then they would switch to the pricing model that's available to everyone else. We also can bill your clients at a normal rate that's available to everyone else as well. We in turn are sending you a quarterly revenue share check. Most popular option, though, I have to say, is we can bill your firm directly at a discounted rate. So if this is especially good, a nice option if you are assuming the responsibility for running payroll, it makes sense that you're going to charge a higher rate than what even Onpay would charge. So we bill your firm directly. We bill your firm at that discounted rate. You charge your clients your rate outside of our platform. Now, none of this would make sense for your firm or be profitable in the least if we didn't have easy to understand simple pricing, which we do. So all of our clients, they are on the same competitive pricing structure. It includes absolutely all of our payroll and HR features. So you're not going to have to factor in different tiers for different functions or services, none of that. Or, hey, this client of mine, they added an employee in a new state. That's multi-state payroll. What is that going to cost me? You're not having to factor anything like that in at all. Our base price is $36 a month per account and $4 for each actively paid employee or contractor during the month. And I want to expand on that a little bit more. That means your client only pays for workers who are actually receiving paychecks. So if they have an employee and that employee is marked active, but they weren't paid during the month, that $4 fee is not going to be incurred for them. What we want to avoid is someone, you maybe, or your client directly, having to scramble, log in, try to make sure that you're marking someone as inactive. None of that. We just look at were they paid, yes or no. And this $4 fee, it's a flat monthly fee. We're not looking at the pay frequency. We're not looking at how many times they got paid. Your client gets unlimited pay runs for that worker, everything that we offer. And then on top of all of that, the prices listed are before the discounts you are entitled to as a partner. Now, next up, we're going to take a look in Onpay directly. But before we do, I do want to check in, make sure I'm not going too quick, too fast. Does anyone have a question or anything that I can clarify that I maybe made more confusing? Let me take a look here. I don't see
Yeah, I don't see any questions yet, but if anyone does want to pop anything in, go ahead. I do have one question.
Yeah.
Is there a fee for W-2s and 1099s at the end of the year?
There can be, but it's something that we're very transparent about. So there's three different options when it comes to W-2s and 1099 printing. We have a spot in app where you're able to access those, print those out for free, distribute those to members of your team, or likewise for the client directly can do that. We also have these nifty employee and contractor self-service portals. Those are free as well. They can go in, download those end of your tax forms. The third option would be for a flat $5 per form. We can print and mail those end of year forms, mail them directly to the employee or contractor at their residence. It's not something that we opt you into. We send out emails at year's end, and we'll have a spot in app for you to elect that for your client.
which that sounds pretty nice for you guys stuffing, printing, stuffing, and mailing and all that stuff. That
Yeah,
sounds fine to me.
it's one less scramble, one less worry, and you know that they're going to be mailed timely too. So it's not going to be something that's forgotten about or like, whoops, it's early February, got to get those out. It's too late by
Right.
then. So,
Perfect.
well, let me change my screen then. I don't see any questions yet. But Kathy, thank you for kicking us off with the first question of the day. And let me update this here. All right, so everyone should see that my screen is now changed. This would be your first view when you log into Onpay. This is a dashboard that only you would have access to, not your clients. It's kind of that one dashboard to manage it all, created just for your team. And what we're seeing here as an orientation, just upper left, I'm seeing my firm's logo, name, and address. Right now, we are logged in as my fake company in tech accounting and bookkeeping. And then far right-hand side, I can toggle between different companies that I'm managing. I would see visually under tasks or actions, is my client missing a state tax ID or an unemployment tax rate? We want to make sure that you're keeping on top of those compliance matters. And that could be something where, hey, I'm going to check in with my client, see if they've registered yet with the state, or maybe I just need to key that into OnPay. And then upcoming payroll deadlines for the various clients that you're managing. Whether it's you, whether it's your client who's the main payroll approver, we do send out automated email reminders just to make sure that no payroll is missed. And then if we hop on over here to companies, I've got a centralized list of all of the companies that I'm managing using OnPay. Now, a neat feature that I like, we have an offices section, and this could be a way to segment or organize your clients. You see it denoted by this purple tag here. You can do physical office locations, but for bookkeepers, a really neat way that I've seen and I've utilized for my own account is you're breaking up clients by whatever criteria you set. I chose mine by the type of business that it is, but maybe you have other, structuring that you'd want to do, but it's a free customizable feature. So I always recommend utilizing this. And then pending enrollments, if I started adding a client to OnPay, I can pick up where I left off really easily or begin the process by clicking begin a new enrollment right here, enter in a few basic pieces of information, and then OnPay is going to take me through this onboarding guide. Now, we are going to discuss onboarding at the end of our presentation, but really quick recap is that it's completely free. We'll move over everything for you except the individual direct deposit info, just for security purposes, but we're moving over wage history. We're moving over employee contractor information, all completely free of charge because we want to make sure, like Kathy was mentioning earlier, hey, W-2s, 1099s, those are going to be sent out. We want to make sure that those are complete and up to date. Now, when you're ready to view a particular company, you would just click this blue launch button, and the page that we're being rerouted to, this is what your client would see if they were granted access to OnPay. So a lot of shortcuts here, easily search for different members of my client's team, reach a live human, not a robot, reach a member of OnPay support staff. You can open up a chat, give us a call, send us an email with any questions. We want to be approachable. We want to make sure that you know where to find us. We are all US based, all trained on payroll. And of course, search our 24-hour knowledge center as well. And then if you need to toggle between client accounts, you can easily do that by coming in the upper right. You can return to that main dashboard or go between different accounts that you are managing without having to necessarily log out and log back in. And then what we're seeing here too, a lot of information at a glance. At the heart of it, I see upcoming pay runs. I see payroll that was recently approved. I've got shortcuts to members of my client's team. Click on their picture, go to their respective profile, and then also manage any tasks that are assigned to myself. And I will be upfront, this may not be as applicable to you truthfully. A lot of the bookkeepers that I work with, you may not be getting into the nitty gritty of employee management. Those self-service portals that I was referencing earlier, employees have the opportunity to update a lot of info, including electronically sign the I-9 or W-4. So nice compliance related tasks that would be assigned to someone to review. So that's what we're seeing here for Shelly. Hey, she completed a remote work agreement. Let's mark this off our to-do list. But again, this may be something that your client's going to be assigned instead of you if they have access. Now, today, what I thought is we would start it off by processing payroll first and foremost. So we'll go through that together. I will check in at the end of that pay run just to see if there are any questions that have been asked. And then we'll take a look at reporting features and a few other areas of OnPay too. All right, so payroll, I'm going to go to payroll on the far left-hand side. Makes sense, right? And this brings me to the first of 4 steps. Very first step, I'm just choosing who needs to be paid. Whether they're a W-2 employee or 1099 contractor, I can knock out those wages all in the same run, check, uncheck people as necessary to include. And then I am able to add some custom reporting fields. I can utilize these custom position, location, and department lines. And this is going to help me out later. When I go to generate reports for my clients, I am able to filter OnPay's reports based on all of those fields. So that is really step 1. We choose who needs to be paid. Step 2, we're going to let OnPay know how much to pay them. And someone who's on a set salary like Arlene is, it's easy enough that salary appears for me. If my client is tracking vacation, sick, or PTO, we can set up those policies in OnPay to where OnPay is going to automate that balance accrual for you, kind of set it and forget it, and then let us know during payroll how many hours leave that employee took. And then I'm just going to tab on over, just kind of breeze through, enter any regular wages, enter any overtime. And as we're going through this, there are several ways that you are able to get the hours into OnPay. We have multiple levels of user access. Maybe your client has a larger employee count. They've got members of their team that manage several employees. Well, we can have managers key in hours and then someone comes in later to approve payroll. We also offer several integrations with different time and attendance providers. Deputy, QuickBooks Time, which you may be more familiar with because you're more familiar with QuickBooks, and also When I Work. We also offer a CSV import option. We also, coming down the pipeline, I don't have a firm ETA, but coming down the pipeline, we are going to also be adding the capability for users to clock in, clock out as well through their own employee portal. So several different ways to get those hours into OnPay, no extra typing required. We also have these shortcuts. And if I expand, I can adjust a withholding, I can override a deduction on the fly, or add in other wage items. If Robert works several different jobs for my client's company, I can assign him multiple rates of pay. I can assign him custom pay items, tips, commissions. Just add in a really quick bonus right here. And once you've added in the wages, once you've added in the hours, next up, OnPay takes over from there. It is our turn. We're going to calculate all the taxes. We're going to lay those out nice and neat. I do think it's still a good opportunity, whether it's you or your client, kind of review at a glance. If you notice you need to make an adjustment, go back to enter hours and make that change. Maybe look at deductions over here on the right. We've got a ton of different pre and post tax deduction types available. We also have a benefits team that can help your client get established, and you too, your company as well, medical, dental, vision, pay-as-you-go, workers' comp, and more. What I will say too, and Kathy, this is kind of exclusively for partners, so not just general, small businesses that use us, but for partners specifically, for you and your clients, we also can make any child support payments, garnishment payments on your behalf. So just kind of an extra feature that we offer there.
Nice.
Yep. And then also too, if your client doesn't have access to OnPay, you can export this window as a report, send it over to them, maybe get their sign off. But if everything looks as it should and we're ready to go, we are going to carry on to the 4th and final step, which is where we're going to tell you the exact day and amount that we're drafting for the taxes and direct deposit. And then when you're ready, you, your client, just someone, make sure you're hitting that big blue approve payroll button. Let's make sure those workers are paid. And then that is it. Direct deposit is included. If someone needs to be paid through a pay card, that works similar to a reloadable debit card. We can send a balance over. We also have a download check option too. And something that we're going to cover in our OnPay deep dive course next week, we also have the option to sync directly with QuickBooks Online. And we make it really customizable. We have item by item GL mapping. You can choose to send over the journal entries in a summarized or detailed view, choose how those wage expenses are flowing over. So we are going to cover that in our deep dive next week, but suffice to say, we do integrate directly with QBO. Now I see we have a few questions. Let me go ahead and pop open that Q&A area here. So let's go over questions and then we'll take a look at customized reporting. A question: very interested in having employees log hours via mobile phones and check in, check out times, code time to specific projects. Can you speak to this? Absolutely, Steve. So at this moment, Onpay does not have the capability for a check-in, check-out feature. That is something that we're working on, is coming down the pipeline, but I don't have a firm ETA. So any consideration that you give of Onpay, I would do as our capabilities as of this moment. Having said that, we do work directly with several time and attendance providers, Deputy, QuickBooks Time, and When I Work, where employees can have that option. They can log into an application on their mobile device, clock in, clock out, and then you can click that import hours button and have the hours flow directly into Onpay. Now, in terms of specific projects, I wouldn't say either that Onpay has really job costing capabilities, just in the interest of transparency. Having said that, I do think that's where our custom pay items can really come in handy. If I come here under pay items, and some of our integrations will allow you to also customize and have custom pay items come across. But OnPay gives you several custom pay items like you see here that you can rename them, designate them to be hourly or non-hourly. It sounds like these projects would be on an hourly basis in terms of tracking. And we can certainly break out the wage expenses by these multiple hourly pay items. And you can name them whatever you'd like to track those. But it's not true job costing in the sense of you're not able to pull a report and go, all right, well, I can see that the payroll cost 60% are allocated to wage item A versus 40% wage item B. It's not going to be that level of reporting. So just want to be upfront about that. With our department position and location designations, it's a one-to-one relationship. So that's why I bring up the pay items as kind of a workaround there, because I can only assign one of those to that individual at a time. All right, good question. Let's see what else we have. Question from Mindy: are you able to handle local taxes? We're in Oregon and have had trouble with a local city tax. We sure can. So Mindy, I know you have the statewide transit tax. You also have the employer TriMet lane district. I mean, you would choose within that respective employee's profile those particular taxes. If there are any city taxes, we would take care of those as well. I do know also there's a new tax that was earlier this year specific to, I don't want to say Eugene. It's like a community policing tax as well. The name's going to bother me. I'll remember it as soon as I get off this call. But yes, we can handle local taxes. Absolutely. Another question: we process direct deposit outside of the payroll software. Are you able to create the NACHA files? We are not, unfortunately. So we would be able to shift the funds by direct deposit for you. The only other alternative is you would have to mark them as check or really not being paid by direct deposit. And we just wouldn't do anything with it. I do apologize. We do the direct deposit, but we're not generating a NACHA file for our users because we handle that for them. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Mindy. Eugene Community Safety. Oh, so I got the city right. Eugene. I was like, I know it's something community safety payroll. I keep seeing the acronym pop up. Thank you. MVP right there. Thanks, Mindy.
And guys, this is one of the reasons I love Kara, because she knows this stuff. Like, she could pop out all this crazy knowledge and you're just like, what? How do you know all that?
Throwing acronyms at you.
Well, yeah, you know it, and it's awesome. So yeah, wealth of knowledge, and your team is just like that. So it's great.
They are. We're all payroll nerds. Oh, and I do want to show too, before we go over reports, just in case, pencils have erasers for this reason. If your client comes back to you and goes, ooh, I'm so sorry, I forgot to tell you that I am giving my employees a bonus this week, or I need to adjust someone's hours and payroll has already been approved, we do have an option here where, as long as OnPay has yet to draft for the taxes or direct deposit, you are able to remove that pay run and then you can reprocess it. You can even reprocess it to where maybe there is a setting inside of OnPay where you can have us remember whatever hours were previously keyed in, so you don't have to necessarily start over from scratch. This goes for you, this goes for your client. If you don't see that delete button there, fret not. We do also have our support team that is available to help you out as well. Now, reports for bookkeepers, I know that is super front of mind for you. So let's go over to our report section. Ton of different reports that are available. I will say the structuring of these reports or the customization options, there are some like payroll listing where you have a lot of flexibility. I've got the general framework of this report. If I go to this gear icon, or someone told me the other day, it looks like a flower, which I actually really like. It is a gear, but flower sounds nicer. So we're going to go to this flower icon and I can name different versions of this report. I am able to take data points under available columns, drag and drop it over, reorganize the report and really make it my own. Any of the column headers that you see with these 3 stacked diamonds, these blue diamonds, that denotes that if I have several different wage items, for example, it's going to break that out into separate columns once I go into the report itself or generate it. But it's really nice. You create your custom report, you save it so you can pull it up time and again, or go with one of our pre-formatted options, which are still robust. They come pre-configured for you. Payroll summary, I really like because it just gives your client that high-level overview of the report in a way that, payroll register, it's going into that per employee level of detail. So payroll summary is a really good place to start. Of course, ideally, we want you to send stuff over to QuickBooks Online too, but you can save this in Excel or even better as a PDF to make it more readable for your clients. And what we're seeing in this report are a delineation of the wages, employee and employer taxes, any deductions or benefits. And then I find this last row especially useful. I can easily give this over to my client and go, this is really the total cost of the payroll. And then each pay period, Onpay is drafting for the taxes and direct deposit. So this is kind of a nice report. They don't have to necessarily go into QBO and look at the bank register and see those sweeps. If they're looking just exclusively from their bank account, they'd be able to reconcile those figures easily in this report. And then another benefit too, what I like is that this report is still pretty customizable in that I can choose a particular date range, which is great if my client is doing any sort of workers' comp, which really all states do that. Texas, though, it's not required unless certain industries. But I can choose a really specific date range. Workers' comp policies usually have unique date ranges. And I also can filter by location, department, and position, which were some fields that we saw earlier. These filters are also sticky. So when I click in between reports, they're going to stay with me as well. And then someone was asking earlier about just kind of project costing. So while the payroll summary report does show you each of those custom wage items as well, I do want to show you, we have reports that will auto segment by the respective department, position, and locations. And so maybe you assign that worker to a particular department or class, and then within that, you can still see the wage breakdown if you want to have further custom pay items or hourly rates for different projects that way. But that way you also get a sense of the payroll costs per department too. Now, whether or not you're sending stuff over to QBO, which I feel like I'm talking to the right audience, you are sending stuff over to QBO, but whether or not that's the case, once you approve, Onpay does take over from there. We are responsible for making all of the federal, state, and local payroll tax payments and filings, all 50 states and District of Columbia at no additional cost. And that includes our error-free guarantee. So something I always tell folks is when you're evaluating payroll software, definitely I encourage you, do your research, but also make sure that you're asking if something goes wrong, what happens? With Onpay, we have a dedicated operations team where their entire job function is to remit and file taxes, address any notices as they come in, and that's all completely free of charge. So if you have a notice, we're able to handle that for you. If it were an error as a result of something we did, we are assuming responsibility for the penalties and interest. If it's something you or your client did, and I have seen this is a real life example. I had a bookkeeper tell me, well, they don't want to pay taxes, so we're just going to mark them as exempt from all these taxes. And I was like, I can't give you legal advice, but I would recommend you don't do that if they're not truly exempt. So in that case, I no doubt probably received a notice down the line. And that is a case where we will still help you file amendments. We will still help you correct it. We'll speak to the IRS and state agencies completely free of charge, but maybe in that instance, we're not assuming responsibility for the penalties or interest because they were worn there. But you have help when you need it. You also are able to come in here and at the federal and state level see filing previews, go back historically to view that information. Also, transparency into the payments we are making on your client's behalf. We've got this whole tax liabilities and payments area where as you run payroll, you're going to see a line item for each tax as it's being accrued. And then this date paid column will be updated in real time once Onpay has made the deposit for your client's account. Now, another section I want to show you is HR here. This may not be something that you're as involved in, so I'm going to go over it at a super high level, but I want to make you aware of this because it comes with Onpay at no additional cost. If you enable it, it's not costing you anything extra. But what's nice with HR is that you can have your client send an offer letter out to a prospective employee, also invite an employee, even a contractor, to self onboard. So they're entering in demographic details, tax elections, direct deposit info, put that on them to enter, and then they will have continued access to that self-service portal where they can download end of year documents, they can request paid time off and more. And we're also able to capture electronically the employee signature for the W-4 and I-9, the contractor signature for the W-9, and any other documents that your client's like, I really am tired of printing things out and killing trees and getting signatures. Digitize it. They can create a handbook or really whatever they'd like. I created my own remote work agreement, capture those signatures, know that those are being once signed, stored securely here. They can access, download them later. And then for you and your relationship with your client, I think company files is a really useful part of HR. Unlimited document storage. What's nice about this is I also can have different folders that have different levels of permission. Who can view these items? Something like a company holiday schedule. Yeah, share it with all workers. I want them to see it from their employee portal, maybe a handbook or benefits information. But then something else like business tax payments or something a little bit more company level focused. Okay, I'm going to restrict that. It's going to be me and my client, any other company level users. So I highly recommend this. Is kind of nice if you're using a share drive right now, you can put it in their payroll system instead. And then whether your client is adding in the employee profiles themselves, whether that employee is being invited to create their own profile, just know that either way, Onpay, we're responsible for making those new hire reports to the state agency automatically. All right,
Awesome.
so I want to check in again. Oh yeah, please.
I wanted to butt in on this one. It goes back to that comparison guide I did between OnPay and Gusto. If you guys are anything like me, when a company says we do HR, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but sounds great. It it can mean a wide variety of things, and so it's really helpful to dig in as to what is really available. If you did get that email earlier today with the comparison, with like the reminder email about the webinar, it has the link to the comparison. I do drill into what all the HR things are because honestly, I am like, oh, HR. Yeah, I have no clue exactly what all that means, but you guys have a lot of stuff in here. And it's something that you can help, provide to your clients or hand over to your clients of all these different options that they have available to them to make life easier. Which it's a great resource.
Yeah, and if I could add on that too, or piggyback on that, Kathy, I would say as well, with the partners program, you get a free dashboard. That dashboard also comes with a free test environment. So there's no obligation if you want one. We have that QBO chat link that I'm going to show you today. But what's nice about that test environment is you also can test out HR, or even before your client tries OnPay or before you try OnPay, you're able to show them and go, well, what are you exactly what Kathy said? What are you looking for HR? Let's see if this would be a good fit for you or has the tools that you are looking for, just as an example.
Yeah, and you guys have been great about, if it's not a good fit, you're going to tell them that, if they need special options and you don't have it, you're upfront with it. You're not trying to like, hey, sign up for payroll. Oh, by the way, later, no, you have to do, yeah, you're straight up.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense. Like applicant tracking, that's not something that's currently part of HR, and that's something we would tell you if that's what your client was looking for. And we're not, what's nice is with the pricing, we're not locking you in either. So you can cancel anytime. We don't charge. You get lifetime access to the data in these accounts too. Well, let me change. Let's go over set kind of speaking of, being transparent. Let's set clear expectations for just what that onboarding process looks like. So you'll see that my screen has changed. We are back in the slide deck. Starting from the far left-hand side, you have that free dashboard. If you do decide to bring clients over with us, you add clients through the company's tab of that dashboard like we saw today. And then OnPay takes you through a 7-step onboarding workflow. And really, all that is we're asking very basic details about that company, like legal name, DBA, FEIN, business bank account. We need to know which account to pull for the taxes and direct deposit. And during the course of that enrollment, if you indicate that, this client, they have paid out wages this year, that is going to trigger that second bullet point. An email will be sent to you from OnPay's onboarding team. And they are going to ask for employee and prior wage reports. And that's something we can help migrate over. You can upload those to a secure portal. You can grant us user access to your client's current provider. It's entirely on your and their level of comfort. I am upfront too. I'm changing the slide, I feel like, on a weekly basis. Right now, the data migration, I'd say the ETA is closer to 7 to 10 business days. We're seeing a spike in enrollments, which is good, but I like to be upfront because historically it's been 3 to 5 business days usually. So what I would say is that in terms of data migration, start at the beginning of a quarter four. Yes, I was telling Kathy before this call, it's pumpkin spice latte season. So we know that quarter four is approaching soon. We know October is almost here. That's a great time. You have that clear break between payroll systems, and then even the start of the year as well. But it might save some money on year-end costs depending on who they're using. 7 to 10 business days includes a buffer if we have clarifying questions. You'll receive an email once everything has been moved over, and then success, you're ready to go. OnPay does offer that continued support by phone, chat, and email, and also partners. That's the resource that Kathy uses directly, and they're available. Schedule a time, send an email with any questions. And that is what you'll receive after this call too. Just a link onpay.com/QBO chat. I will say you get free dashboard, free test account with no obligation, plus enroll your firm for free payroll, no client minimum. Each of your clients receives a free 30-day trial with free implementation, or just reach out to us there if you have questions or would like to speak to someone one-on-one. We're there to assist. Now, I want to see if there are any other questions that I can take for you. I will also say next Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern, we're going to go over an OnPay deep dive. We're going to go over the QuickBooks Online integration. We'll have our in-house QuickBooks Online specialist outside of Kathy, of course, but we've got one on OnPay side too. And we'll go over like leave accrual policies and all of these other things you can do with OnPay. But is there anything else I can answer for you?
And I was going to say, on my schedule, I have it at noon next
just
week.
kidding.
But hey, if anyone's been aware of what I've been doing the past couple weeks, I've messed up about every email I sent out. So, or yeah, I've messed up a lot. I think it's next Tuesday at noon or next Thursday.
Probably.
See?
Yep, there you go. Maybe
Next
we're
Thursday.
a piece of it. We're both wrong, and we're going to come together on the right day and time.
God, I'll send out the emails and hopefully they'll be perfect this time. Yeah, I think it was last week or the week before. I don't know now. I messed up my integrations behind the scenes. So when someone fills out a form, it registers them in Zoom. It never registered anyone in Zoom. So I realized a minute before we went live. I was like, oh my God, it was horrible.
At least it's not the infamous, what is it, Arizona, parts of Arizona do the daylight savings time, other parts don't. I feel like that's the worst offender for,
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I mean, talk about time change. I get it from my mom. So when I was a kid, there was one time at daycare, she was at least an hour late because she changed the time the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
So I was sitting outside with like the owner of the daycare.
Or that's what she told you, Kathy. That's what she told you. No, I was kidding.
It's like, well, before cell phones and everything, it was just like, where is she? So she finally showed up. I was like, oops,
There you go.
forgot.
Yeah. You're here with us today. Everything worked out.
Yeah, we worked out well today. And yeah, we got a lot of great information. Did you want to give just a quick summary of what you're going to cover next week?
Yeah, so we're going to go over definitely kind of a deep dive into the QuickBooks Online integration. We will go over leave accrual policies, just really how to maximize OnPay 2. We have several levels of user access. We have other benefit offerings that we have too. So I think kind of just to cover those little details, today's target was really, the primary focus of OnPay is payroll and HR. So I wanted to make sure that we showed you how that worked. But next week will just be a deeper dive into how you can really customize and configure OnPay.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't see any other questions, so I guess we can wrap it up early and people can get a couple more minutes back in their day. Kara, thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom and amazingness with us. I love I love doing this with you every single time. It's awesome.
So much fun. Thank you for having me, Kathy. And thanks, everyone.
Thanks. You have a great day.